Have you ever been there? You're in the middle of a heated argument. Voices are rising. Frustration is building. You're trying to make your point, to finally get through to them, and suddenly they just stop. They shut down. A wall of silence descends. They might look away, cross their arms, or just stare blankly. The conversation, the fight, the connection, it's all over. If you're the one still talking, it's maddening. You feel ignored, dismissed, abandoned. Just say something, you want to scream. But if you are the one who has gone silent, you're in a completely different, often invisible battle. You might be screaming on the inside, desperate to speak, but unable to form the words. Or maybe you've just left. Your mind has checked out because staying in the conflict feels terrifying, impossible, or utterly pointless. We've been taught to see silence in an argument as weakness, as disinterest, or even as a manipulative weapon. But the truth is far more complex. The psychology of people who choose silence over conflict isn't about not having a response, it is the response. Today, we are decoding one of the most misunderstood behaviors in human interaction. We're exploring the deep-seated psychological reasons, from subconscious survival instincts and past trauma to high emotional intelligence. By the end of this video, you will understand what is really happening in their mind when they go quiet, and how to break the painful cycle. Before we can understand what silence is, we must first clarify what it is not. There are three primary misconceptions that poison our ability to see this behavior clearly. Myth 1. Silence is weakness. In Western culture, particularly, we value articulation. The winner of an argument is often the one with the quickest wit, the most powerful words. Silence is equated with surrender, with having nothing to say, with losing the fight. This is a profound error. As we will see, silence can stem from overwhelming feeling, deep processing, or immense self-control. It is anything but simple weakness. Myth 2. Silence is indifference. They've gone quiet, they just don't care. This is the painful assumption the talker often makes. The silence feels like a cold dismissal, a sign that the relationship or the topic doesn't matter. In reality, the opposite is often true. People frequently go silent because they care so much. The emotional stakes are so high that they are terrified of saying the wrong thing, of doing irreparable damage, or of the intense emotional backlash. Myth 3. Silence is always manipulation. This is perhaps the most damaging myth. We immediately jump to the silent treatment, a behavior used to punish and control. And while that dark form of silence certainly exists, and we will address it, it is not the default. To assume all silence is a malicious act of passive aggression is to completely miss the reality for millions of people who are not using silence, but are experiencing it as a defensive, protective, or reflexive state. The core truth is this: silence is a function. It serves a purpose. It is a complex human response that covers a vast spectrum, from total system failure to brilliant strategic control. To understand the person, we must first understand the function their silence is serving. Let's move beneath the surface. When a person habitually defaults to silence in a conflict, they are almost always being driven by one or a combination of these 5 powerful psychological forces. Driver 1. Emotional flooding. the physiological response. This is the most primal and least chosen reason for silence. It is a biological event. The term for this, coined by relationship researcher Dr. John Gottman, is emotional flooding. It is a state of diffuse physiological arousal, or DPA. Here is the chain of events. The conflict begins. The person perceives a threat. This threat isn't a lion. It's the other person's tone of voice, their critical words, the feeling of being attacked or misunderstood. This perceived threat triggers the amygdala, the brain's ancient alarm system. The amygdala screams, "danger," and initiates a full-body survival response. It floods the system with stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. The heart rate rockets, often past 100 beats per minute. Blood is diverted from the rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, and sent to the limbs, preparing the body for what? Fight or flight. But in a modern argument, you can't or shouldn't physically fight, and you can't just run out of the room. So, the brain defaults to the third, forgotten survival response: freeze. This freeze response is the silence. It's not a choice. It is a full body shutdown. In this state of DPA, the brain's higher functions are offline. The sophisticated language centers are inaccessible. The ability to process nuance, listen to another's perspective, or formulate a coherent counterargument is physiologically impossible. The person is literally struck dumb. They aren't choosing not to talk. They can't. Their brain has been hijacked by a survival mechanism that is older and more powerful than their desire to resolve the argument. They are trapped, paralyzed, waiting for the perceived danger to pass. Driver 2. Conflict avoidance and past trauma. The learned response. This driver is about history. It is a behavior baked into a person's psyche by their past experiences. Consider a person who grew up in a high-conflict environment, a home where disagreements were not calm discussions, but explosive, frightening events, where voices were always raised, doors were slammed, and the emotional fallout was devastating. As a child in that environment, you learn critical survival rules. You learn that speaking up, having a different opinion, or expressing your own needs is not safe. It may lead to being yelled at, to being punished, or worse, to witnessing a frightening escalation between the adults you depend on. What do you learn to do? You learn to be quiet. You learn to make yourself invisible. You learn that silence equals safety. This isn't a conscious memory. It's a deep, procedural, learned response. Now, as an adult, that person enters a conflict. Their partner raises their voice even slightly. To their partner, it's just emphasis. To them, it's a trigger. Their nervous system doesn't hear a 30-year-old partner. It hears a 7-year-old's terror. Their default to silence is not about the current argument. It is a psychological reflex. It's an echo of the past, a deeply ingrained protective mechanism designed to keep them safe from a danger they learned was unbearable. They are not avoiding you. They are avoiding the terrifying, chaotic, and painful feelings they learned to associate with conflict itself. Driver 3. Introversion and processing style. The personality trait. This driver is not about fear or trauma. It is about cognitive wiring. It's the fundamental difference between how an introvert and an extrovert process information. Extroverts are often external processors. They think by talking, They discover their own opinions as the words tumble out. They engage with the conflict in real time, batting ideas back and forth. Introverts are internal processors. They think before talking. When presented with a complex, emotionally charged piece of information, like an accusation or a difficult question in a fight, their brain does not spit out the first available response. It goes deep. It needs to run the new data against existing information, analyze it, feel the emotions associated with it, formulate a precise and accurate thought, and then begin the difficult work of translating that complex internal picture into spoken language. This entire process takes time, and it requires immense cognitive resources. In the heat of an argument with an extroverted partner who is processing externally, rapid fire, loud, and demanding a response, the introvert simply cannot keep up. They are being bombarded with new data, the other person's words, while simultaneously trying to run their deep internal program. The result is a system overload. They go silent, not because they have nothing to say, but because they have too much to say and cannot formulate it under pressure. Their silence is a request for time. They are trying to give an honest, thoughtful, and accurate answer, not a knee-jerk, half-formed reaction that will only make things worse. But in the fast-paced battle of a modern argument, this thoughtful pause is misinterpreted as disengagement. Driver 4. Perceived futility, the relational dynamic. This driver is learned, but not from childhood. It is learned within the relationship itself. This is the silence of resignation. It happens in a dynamic where one person consistently feels unheard, dismissed, invalidated, or gaslit, manipulated into doubting their own reality. In the beginning, they fought. They argued their point. They presented evidence. They explained their feelings. They cried. They pleaded. But every time, their perspective was bulldozed. Their feelings were labelled crazy, too sensitive, or wrong. The narrative was always twisted back on them. After months or years of this, a psychological switch flips. The person learns, my words do not matter. Nothing I say will change the outcome. Speaking up only leads to more pain and frustration. What is the point? This silence is learned helplessness. It is the tragic, logical conclusion of a communication pattern that has proven to be a dead end. The silence is a form of energy conservation. It's a protest. It's the person emotionally checking out, not just from the argument, but often from the relationship itself. It is a shield, not against an attack, but against the soul-crushing exhaustion of futility. Driver 5. Strategic silence, the high EQ maneuver. Finally, we come to the most conscious and controlled form of silence. This is not a reaction, it is a tactic. But unlike the silent treatment, it's not a malicious one. It is a tool of high emotional intelligence, EQ. A person with high EQ understands a fundamental rule of conflict. You cannot reason with an emotional brain. When the other person is in a state of flooding, when they are angry, yelling, or hysterical, engaging with them on a logical level is like throwing gasoline on a fire. It will not work. The strategic individual will choose silence. This silence is not empty, it is active. It is a container. They remain present, they maintain eye contact, they listen. They use their silence to communicate. I am not a threat. I am not going to be pulled into this emotional vortex with you, and I am waiting for your rational brain to come back online. This accomplishes 3 things. 1. It de-escalates. By not fighting back, they provide no fuel. The other person's anger, with nothing to push against, will often burn itself out. 2. It prevents damage. The high EQ person knows that words spoken in anger are almost always regretted. They remain silent to stop themselves from saying something that could permanently damage the relationship. 3. It models control. They are demonstrating, through their own calm, that it is possible to experience intense emotion without losing control. This is not weakness. This is the profound strength and discipline of emotional mastery. We've just broken down the 5 core psychological drivers of silence. From a biological freeze response to a high EQ strategic maneuver. You are likely recognizing either yourself or someone you know in these descriptions. If this psychological deep dive is providing you with value, and you want to continue understanding the hidden patterns of human behavior, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We release new analyses like this every week. Join our community. We have now explored the defensive, physiological, and strategic reasons for silence. But we must, in the name of honesty, address its dark side. This is the silent treatment. This is the behavior that gives all other forms of silence a bad name. It is fundamentally different from every driver we've discussed. How? It's about intent. The person who is flooded, traumatized, or processing is silent because they are in pain or distress. The person using the silent treatment is silent to inflict pain and distress. It is a conscious or semi-conscious weapon of passive aggression. It is designed to punish, to control, and to manipulate. The goal is to make the other person feel so anxious, so invisible, so desperate for reconnection that they will grovel, apologize, even when they've done nothing wrong, and concede to the silent person's demands. The silent treatment is a power play. It turns connection, a basic human need, into a currency that can be withheld. It is cold, controlling, and dismissive. It is a recognized and insidious form of emotional abuse. It is not a defensive shield, it is an offensive weapon. Understanding all this is the first step. The next is action. This cycle of silence and pursuit is painful for both people, and it can be broken. If you are the one who goes silent, 1. Identify your triggers. Self-awareness is your greatest tool. Learn to feel the very first signs of flooding or shutdown. Is it a tightness in your chest? A ringing in your ears? The impulse to look away? Catch it before you're gone. 2. Use a scripted phrase. You must replace the destructive wall of silence with a constructive boundary. Memorize a simple, non-blaming phrase. Example: I am starting to feel overwhelmed and my brain is shutting down. Or, I want to resolve this, but I cannot think clearly right now. I need to take a 20-minute pause. I promise I will come back to this. 3. Self-regulate. During that 20-minute pause, your job is to actively calm your nervous system. Do not just sit there stewing in the argument. Splash cold water on your face. This triggers the dive reflex, which slows the heart rate. Go for a walk. Breathe deeply 4 seconds in. Hold for 4, out for 6. You must actively signal to your body that the danger has passed. If you are dealing with the person who goes silent, 1. Stop the pursuit. Your instinct is to chase them, emotionally or physically. Talk to me. Don't you dare walk away. To their flooded nervous system, you have just become the predator. This is the worst possible thing you can do. 2. De-escalate yourself. You cannot calm their nervous system if yours is also hyper-aroused. Take a visible deep breath. Lower your voice. Unclench your hands. Sit down. You must non-verbally signal that you are not a threat. 3. Offer the pause with reassurance. Instead of demanding they talk, give them permission not to, but with a contract. Say, I can see this is too much right now. I'm going to get some water. Let's both take 15 minutes to cool off, and then we will try again more calmly. This validates their feeling, removes the pressure, and provides the safety of a promise to reconnect. Silence is not an empty void. It is a space filled with meaning. It may be filled with the static of a nervous system on overload. It may be filled with the ghosts of past traumas. It may be filled with the complex, careful work of a mind deep in thought. It may be filled with the crushing weight of futility, or it may be filled with the calm, disciplined strength of emotional wisdom. In a world that prizes noise and quick comebacks, we have forgotten how to listen to silence. We have forgotten to replace our judgment with curiosity. Understanding why someone is silent is the key. It is the first step toward empathy. It is the only way to stop fighting a behavior and start connecting with the person. The goal, in the end, is not to win the argument. The goal is to create a space so safe that the silence is no longer necessary. But now, this conversation includes you. This is a topic that affects nearly everyone. Which of these 5 drivers resonated with you the most? Do you tend to be the silencer or the pursuer in a conflict? Share your story, your experiences, and your own hard-won insights in the comments section below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Let's learn from each other.